Hello, welcome to the next episode of She Runs the Business podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Mandy DeGrâce, who joined our mission to heal millions of hearts. Mandy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be on your podcast, on your show, and I know that we're going to really have an interesting conversation, and I hope that people listening are going to really benefit from this.
Thank you so much for being here today. Before we dive into your full awakening experience, can you tell us more about who is Mandy?
So that's a good question. From the outside, I would say I am a Reiki practitioner, certified naturopath, and I also teach dance. So I really, really am so passionate about wellness and spirituality. From the inside, who is Mandy? I am a soul, I am love, and I feel so connected to everybody. And I'm so honored that I get to be here in this lifetime to help people and to do my mission.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I want to dive deeper because you have really interesting experience. You experience full awakening. And everybody's talking about that. Everybody wants to experience that, and we don't really know what that is. So we're happy to have you here today. Um, who was Mandy before experiencing that full awakening?
Okay, that's a really good question. And I think a lot of people who have had an awakening will relate to how I'm explaining this. But before my spiritual awakening, I was fully identified with my ego. So another way to say this is my personality or my thoughts. So I believed that I was my thoughts. I believed that I was the labels that people put on me. I believed that I was the labels that I put on myself. I believed that I was the self-criticism in my head. I believed that I was simply, the boxes that I was put in. And so for the first, I'd say about 20 years of my life, I grew up as a dancer, competitive dancer. And I did a little bit of modeling, a little bit of acting as well. And so I was very much experiencing life from the outside in. So the way that I perceived myself was very much influenced by how people would perceive me. There's a saying that goes, I'm not what I think I am. I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. And that's kind of like how I saw myself. So through that multiple reflection experience. And what happened is over time, I found that no matter how many accolades I would get or how many, awards, whatever, I never really felt fulfilled in that experience. And I think that my soul chose this consciously, because as I grew older into my late teens, I got very depressed. And so there was this darkness that was coming, slowly creeping into my life. And I remember asking myself, like, is this it? Like, is this the whole point of being alive? Am I just here, to perform, to be like this avatar? And it was very, very dark, I remember. And the way that I can explain this in a metaphor is kind of like having a seed planted in the soil. Very deep. It doesn't know that it's going to become a plant or a tree or a flower. It's basically just in the darkness. And that's where you are planted. That's where the awakening happens. For most people have the experience of the dark night of the soul. So before the spiritual awakening, they have this dark experience of life. And so what happened is that it was so dark that I went to get some therapy, and I remember it was a therapist from the university I was going to, and she recommended this. She actually gave me this CD. It was meditation. It was a guided meditation, and at that point in my life, I had never been aware of meditation before, and so I started doing this meditation. It was like a body scan, so very basic meditation, and I noticed that I felt a lot better afterwards. So after that, I just went full into study and meditation. And I really got into that. Like I was meditating almost like 4 or 5 hours a day. And long story short, after a while, I felt a huge shift. I felt a huge shift. And I was also reading the book, The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer at the same time. And he was explaining how we are not our thoughts, we are the observer. The consciousness behind that is aware. And so as I started to get distance from my negative thinking and the darkness that was there, I started to realize this is not who I am. I am the light. And in that darkness, I started to shed light onto that darkness. And slowly, I realized that nothing that I ever did was representative of who I am. No labels, no accolades, no any accomplishments, there's no labels. We are simply light. We are love. And from that moment on, I really cultivated that sense of pure love and bliss in my life. Obviously, I still have moments of sadness and anxiety, but really, there's so much more love and light, and a huge calling to be of service now.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I thank you so much for sharing your story. I think a lot of people can relate to that we all experience that night of soul before we choose to change our life, because we become so comfortable with our pain, with our struggles, and we hold so much onto that we feel, oh my God, if I let that go, who I'm going to be. I'm so much that pain, I'm so much that suffering that I cannot let that go. And it feels almost like I'm losing myself, but actually I'm becoming who I am. And that's the most beautiful thing, that you explained that very well. Like, um, I have, like, when you experience the dark night of soul, like, then you realize that you are not your thoughts and you are not that negativity, and that you're much more than that you came here as the light to serve and bring so much light to the humanity. I love that story. I really love to talk about your awakening. Can you explain us exactly how it happened and what did you experience at that moment?
So, for me personally, I don't know if it's the same way for other people who are listening, but for me, there was a moment, but there was also multiple moments. And it's always like, I feel like I'm still awakening and, sometimes falling asleep, coming back to myself. But the first moment I remember was through meditation. And I realized that, um, it was not even a realization. It was a knowing that I was connected to everything in the universe and that I was, everything. I was life. And once you know that, once you are aware of that, it's very hard to go back from that. um, and it's, keeping that into your awareness, because as you go back into life, into, modern life, it's very difficult to always stay in that state, because you get influenced into uh, the modern thinking of the human mind right now, our culture and our society. But it's a powerful reminder that yes, whoever you're talking to, you are them, they are you, and treat other people the way you want to be treated. Um, and then, as I continue to meditate and prayer and reading about these things, I kept cultivating this sense of oneness with all of life, this love in my heart that is beyond anything I could explain.
Yeah, I agree with you, like how you explained that. I had a similar experience, but it was a little bit different. I remember I was sitting on my couch and I was asking myself, I connected with my soul and said, show me who I am, show me who I am. I really want to know who I am and what's my purpose here. And I remember the moment that I see visions, and I saw a vision. We were like an earth, and every single plant, every single human being, every single being on that plant was connected. And I realized this is who we are. We are just one. We are all interconnected. And how I perceive life and how I experience life is also influence others around me. And I saw that as a net around the earth, and I saw exactly like if I make a small movement, everybody's going to move, and this is how I perceive that. And For me, it was just, as you mentioned, it was oneness, realizing we are all connected and we all influence each other. And even though we don't know about that, but we are all very deeply connected and we are just one light. This is how I experienced that. And I want to talk a little bit about your experience because I think it's very important for listener to understand how much that experience has changed your life.
Well, it has transformed every aspect of my life, you know, to say the least, because first of all, knowing that everything is, you know, we're all connected. And like you said, you know, every single movement that we make and every word that we say, every action that we take is influencing not only the people around us, but it's creating this ripple effect. It creates this huge sense of responsibility that to be aware of your own energy and aware of your own what you're sharing with the world. So that for sure has changed the way that I show up in my life. And another thing that has changed for me is my level of self-respect and self-love. So knowing that I am the universe and I can't be separate from the love. You can say God, universe, love, you know, whatever source. I I just I don't like being mean to myself anymore. It still happens. I still have negative thoughts, but I really try to let these go. It's a program. That's why it's so difficult because, you know, your whole life you're being programmed a certain way. And then if you have a spiritual awakening, it doesn't necessarily end there. You have to do the work to unlearn the things that are harming you. And a third thing that I think that has changed after my spiritual awakening is this sense that I really want to serve the world. To be of service is really important to me. And I think you relate to that, you know, with healing millions. And it's very important to be able to bring to the table your strengths in a way that helps other people.
I agree with that. I think life is serving and bringing all the light to the world. And I, that's why we have those gifts. That's why we were given those gifts. And that's why universe believed in us and gifted us this amazing skill to help people. And if universe doesn't doubt in us, why should we doubt in ourselves? And that's a really powerful message I really want to give everybody. Like, you are much bigger, much stronger, more powerful than you think you are. And you are a creator being, and you are sent here to serve and change this world. That's why I always say, like, be brave, shine your light, change the world. And there's one thing that you mentioned. I think it's really, really important that we talk about that. Is like, even though you have experienced this amazing full awakening, when you come back to the reality, it's really hard to implement everything what you experienced and continue learning like that, because the reality is completely different. It's much harsh. And it's like it's you have a judgments every single day, and we have a programs, and even though we don't want to be part of that program, somehow we are still part of that program, and we are running that program on the back of our minds. And what have you done to help yourself with that program?
Well, it's definitely an ongoing journey for me. You know, I love having these conversations and getting into that state of consciousness where I'm connecting to, you know, the feeling of this oneness and awakening and everything. But on a day-to-day basis, sometimes it's another story when people, you know, are triggering some old wounds, or maybe you have some fears, some anxieties that are still in your body, somatically in your mind. And so I think it's really important, whether you've had this huge spiritual awakening or not, you know, if you're simply curious about changing your life and growing, it's important to do personal work. I try to do a lot of meditation. I exercise. I do a lot of movement to try to purge the negative energy in my body. I think it's nice to be able to see healers as well. to have somebody to bounce back on and to also be able to see certain blind spots in your energy. And yoga is amazing as well. And coaches, mindset coaches are amazing to be able to, reprogram that mind that are those things that are no longer serving you really.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. And there's one thing that I really want to talk about is all these experiences that you have, and now that you became wiser and have a more life experience and see things differently, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would say this is so funny because this is a phrase I hear myself, right now, but I would also say it to my younger self. I would say stop trying so hard. Just be, trust that who you are is enough, what you do is enough, and how you show up is enough.
Wow, such a beautiful message. And I think so many people can relate to that because very often we really, really try so hard to achieve something and we don't even realize that universe wants to put us on different path. And that's why we have an obstacle. But we are so stubborn and we are so blind to see that. And I think what you mentioned here is really great that sometimes don't try so hard because I also have a rule like if I try 3 4 times and I cannot make it, sometimes I leave it because there's a sign from the universe not to do it. And I really love the message that you said.
Thank you. Yeah, that's amazing. I will implement that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple of times. I was once I wanted to book a flight to New York, and I was trying. I couldn't get in. Like I was trying all the things. I thought maybe the universe wants to tell me something. And thank God I didn't book that flight because there was a storm in New York. The airport was closed, and I would not be able to fly. And there's always a greater message behind that, and I really respect that. And I always think, okay, the universe, what are you trying to tell me with that? Maybe I should not do it. And I always leave it and come back to that if I like maybe after a day or two if I try to do it again. If it still feels hard, I will not do it. I will definitely not do it. That's my rule. And Mandy, thank you so much for your beautiful words, and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and life experience with us. Can you share more about how people can find you and how they can work with you?
So I think probably my Instagram is the best way to connect with me. It's just my name, so at Mandy Mandy DeGrâce DeGrace. And once you're there, there's a link tree to everything else that I have. So, and I'm really open to you guys, coming to have a conversation. I love connecting with people. So,
Thank you so much, Mandy. We will also put all these links below your video so people can connect with you. Mandy, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining our mission to heal millions of hearts. And everybody else who is watching and listening, thank you so much for being here today. Until next time, be brave, shine your light, because the world does need that love and light inside of you more than ever. I'm sending you lots of love and big hug. Bye for now.